There are so many quarterbacks entering the portal.
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm your host, Zach Blackerby, and thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. Happy Charlie Tuesday to all who celebrate. Kyle Rush, also known as Charlie5. He's the man over at thebarnauburn.com. Our main concern at this point in time, that's coming up, as well as, all right, I've come full circle. I'm calm about the wide receiver position now. We'll touch more on that in a moment. But the confidence level at quarterback, it's like yesterday you blink or you wait 3 minutes and then you update some social media and it's like, oh, another really solid borderline elite college quarterback enters the portal. DJ Lagway at Florida, Dylan Raiola, Sorsby at Cincinnati. This seems to be a trend, right? This transfer portal window is going to be absolutely insane. And Auburn sits in a unique situation where, weirdly, they're the favorite for a guy who's not even in the portal yet, with Byrum Brown at South Florida, who played for Golesh last year. And also, Deuce Knight still sitting pretty on the roster with all the upside and the potential. You know, obviously, Auburn fans hope that they can hold on to Deuce. Like, with all this uncertainty at quarterback throughout college football, call me crazy, but I feel weirdly good about Auburn's situation.
You know, it's funny. I said the same thing last week on my show. I felt like we're in a good spot no matter what, because it's like, I guess the worst case, there is no worst case scenario where you don't end up with one of, I feel like, an elite portal quarterback. We can say Byrum Brown or Deuce Knight, who has all of the upside that you could possibly imagine or possibly want in a quarterback prospect. And then I'm not going to be shocked if you don't get both. Like, I honestly think it may be trending that direction where you may get both. Like, you may get an elite portal guy and you keep Deuce. It really does feel like you're in a good spot. No matter what scenario, as long as you play your cards right, you're going to end up in a good spot no matter what.
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird because, like, okay, Jackson's going to enter, and then I've heard different things on Ashton. Honestly,
yeah, I thought I saw that he entered somewhere, or like he was going to enter, but maybe I was just reading, tweets or something like that.
And then I've seen people dig up old stuff, or maybe it just pops up on my feeds, but it's stuff from after the Iron Bowl when he talks about like how Auburn's the place he wants to be and all of that. It does seem like the mood of that has changed a little bit. I mean, a lot of these guys have had, you've had plenty of opportunities to quell any sort of narrative around you leaving. And these guys are choosing to not do that up to this point, which is fine. They got to do what's best for them. And I do think, we're seeing these early reports of guys saying that they intend to enter the portal when it opens. I think over the course of this month, you're going to see guys say that they're staying as well. I think you're going to see that in the near future throughout all of college football. And I think you'll see it at Auburn too. But yeah, Ashton's a guy that's interesting because he came in to be a backup under Freeze. And now, does he feel like he's done enough? Does Alex Golesh want him? Which is a big question. I don't know why you wouldn't, right? But there are a lot of variables into this, and Ashton's kind of in this weird spot, it seems.
I wonder if Ashton, and look, this is just a complete guess, but I wonder if Ashton was kind of like, I'm going to ride my career out and be an SEC guy, and then he actually got a chance to play, and he's like, dang, I still got it. I could go be an elite guy. And maybe I put enough on film against Alabama and Vanderbilt that I can go get a big check and I can be a starter at a premier, not a premier school.
Oh, let me tell you what, dude, we have talked ourselves into way worse than Ashton Daniels.
Oh, sure.
Remember when we were excited about Zach Calzada? You remember that?
Oh my God. I was not one of those.
Ashton's way better than him.
No, I agree. So I wonder if it's one of those things where I was cool with it, and then now, hey, maybe I want to play. I only got one more shot at this thing. I could probably make some pretty good money If you guys don't want to have me as anything other than a backup at X amount, I'm going to go see what's out there.
Which, no disrespect, but like you have to, it's either you have to commit to Deuce or you have to sell Deuce on a guy who's clearly better than him. And like, I don't know if
that's a good point.
And I don't know if Ashton sells that. No disrespect to Ashton. If you bring Byrum or another guy, insert any of the quarterbacks that entered yesterday. If you bring in any of those guys, you just pitch to Deuce like, hey, look, these other places, like you're going to have to sit behind them anyway. We've got this guy for 1 year. And then 100%, we will not bring in a portal quarterback next year with the intent of him being the starter.
Yeah.
Like if you're willing to do that, you're set at quarterback, because like then it doesn't make any sense for Deuce to leave.
No, I don't think it really makes sense for Deuce to leave anyway, unless he feels like he's not the plan for the future. I think the biggest thing,
like I've seen so many people say like, oh, well, Lane loves him. And I'm like, yeah, sure. I'm sure he does. But like Lane's not picking him to be a starter at LSU this year. Like, that's just not happening.
No, he just retweeted the DJ Lagway. He retweeted that.
It's that. That's hilarious.
Yeah. And then, I mean, Sam Levitt could be, you could go get whoever you want. You could go get the best that's available. Sam Levitt, Dylan Raiola, whoever he wanted, he could go get those guys that have actual proven.
They're proven.
Proof. They have proof of concept versus taking he doesn't have to gamble.
Ole Miss is the interesting one for Deuce to me.
Yeah.
Because we don't know what's going to happen with Trinidad. He's going to be trying to get, he's got a waiver that has to get approved.
And then Austin Simmons.
I talked to somebody, it was Brian. We did a crossover with Brian. He thinks that like he was originally committed to Florida. He brought that up. And so like, what does that look like with Lagway leaving?
Oh man, I didn't even think about that. But then I also go back if I'm John Summerall. I mean, you have a little bit more tape on Austin Simmons to go off of. But is that the route you want to go in your first
season?
I'd
rather have Deuce than Austin Simmons.
If I had to pick between the two.
If I'm a new head coach.
Oh, if you're a new head coach.
Which both of these places are, Ole Miss and Florida.
The difference is Ole Miss, he's been there. Like he's been there, and he actually has game film at Ole Miss. I think if I had to pick between the two, I'd take Deuce.
I think I would too. Yeah.
So, but I don't know what other guys would say. If Austin Simmons goes to Florida, then it's going to be really hard to keep Deuce away.
Correct.
Because that would just be a win. That'd be a win for Golding. That'd be a win for him to say, I got Deuce back. And then people are going to give you, they're going to give you grace and let that thing play out. So that could be that one to watch for sure. And Trinidad, and obviously, does Trinidad get the waiver?
Does he get the waiver? And if he does, he's maybe not the clear-cut favorite for LSU since this DJ Lagway news came out, but he'd be up there too. So
sure.
He'd be a hot name in this portal class for sure, which is going to be crazy. My mood has shifted about the wide receivers. Gotten a few sleeps in, Kyle.
Okay. I like it.
I've gotten some sleeps, and I feel better about it. And I want to talk why. Tell me if I'm booging or not. That's next, right here on Locked on Auburn. Today's show brought to you by our friends at Omaha Steaks. No one loves meat more than this guy, Kyle
Nobody.
Rush. Loves meat. Loves meats.
I
actually ordered some Omaha Steaks for some people on my Christmas list last week.
I hope I'm on that list.
I didn't buy it for you.
There you go.
I'm so sorry.
What do I got to do to get some
meat? But so I was like, okay, it's just going to be early, right? When I'm checking out. And I got like the second or third biggest box. It's a nice box, right? Ton of meat. Ton of meat in the box from Omaha Steaks. But I'm like, it's just going to be way too early. I'll tell them when it's headed their way. No, you can check a box. It's like, is this a Christmas gift? And I'm like, what does this box checking the box do? And it's going to be now delivered like just a few days before Christmas now. I'm like, oh, that's awesome. That's great. Nice. So they know what they're doing over at Omaha Steaks. And look, I saved a lot of money. You can save big on gourmet gifts and holiday favorites with Omaha Steaks. Visit omahasteaks.com for an extra $35 off. Use code COLLEGE at checkout. Terms apply. See site for details. That's omahasteaks.com. Promo code COLLEGE. Today's show also brought to you by our friends at Kia Autosport of Columbus. If you're in the Auburn Opelika area, if you're in the Atlanta area, I don't care where you are. But if you're in the market for a new vehicle, head over to our friends at Kia Autosport Columbus. They're right off of Whittlesey Boulevard in Columbus, Georgia. Or you can go over to KiaAutosportColumbus.com to browse their inventory. And Kyle, $500 off if you walk in there and say, "Hey, I heard about you guys on Locked on Auburn." That's $500 off right there.
Right there.
You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. And then our friends at Kia, of course, will be like, "Yeah, if you buy a new Kia, tires for life, baby. Tires for life."
Life. You know how many set of tires you go through in general?
Yeah.
I mean,
I would go for more if I had tires for life. I would change them.
And then Kia, those cars go forever too. So like, man,
yeah,
fired up.
Good value. Good value.
Great
KiaAutosportColumbus.com. Thank you so much for making Locked on Auburn your first listen every single day. Yes, I'm bummed. I'm bummed that Malcolm Simmons is gone.
Okay, got it.
But I trust Alex Golesh's scheme. And if this is, them clearing some of the cap, if you will, to keep Cam Coleman and Eric Singleton, which I've just got a weird feeling you keep both of them, Kyle. I've just got a weird feeling that Auburn's going to keep both of these guys. And if you do that and you play some of these freshmen that you just brought in that I think have really, really good tape, and you lean on a younger guy that's maybe already on the roster, like a Bryce Kane, and you bring in Singleton and the other guy from USF, I think that's fine. With Alex Golesh's scheme, who's going to focus on running the dang football, I'm okay with it. I'm okay with the current spot of this receiver room.
I want to pick your brain on this for a second, and this is for my benefit, not to hold you to the fire. What is it about the scheme that makes you feel better about even what Hugh Freeze did coming in? Because I felt very similar about Hugh Freeze's scheme based off of what he did at Liberty and what he did at Ole Miss. I mean, obviously the draft picks speak for themselves. So what is it in particular about this scheme that makes you feel better, I guess?
Yeah, I think some of it's a good to great conversation. I think Ole Miss offenses were good and the Liberty offenses were good. I think what Golesh did with Tennessee, great. And I think what he did at USF, number 2 offense in college football, great.
That's a really good point.
So I would say that jump is hard to make, and he has made it. I also trust that, like, there's not going to be any of that. Like, I don't feel like any of these hires were forced on Alex Golesh, including the coordinators. Like, he is bringing his guy with him. And there's no going to be back and forth on who's calling plays, which even in year 1, that wasn't Hugh Freeze calling plays. Correct me if I'm wrong on that.
Yeah.
And,
it wasn't.
That was a big thing that offseason to move on from Philip Montgomery, 1L, Philip Montgomery. And I think that matters too. I think bringing that, that conversation that has been ongoing amongst the staff of South Florida just gets to continue at Auburn. And obviously Cody Burns will be a part of that too.
So when I ask myself this question, it's a little bit, it's the same, but it's a little bit different than what you're saying. What I'll really turn to is the recent success versus, and that is the great versus the good, what you're talking about. Like, Hugh had some elite offenses at Ole Miss. He had a quarterback throw for 4,500 yards or over 4,000 yards or whatever it was in 2015. Okay. And then what he did at Liberty was good, but it wasn't like it was just
and without Malik Willis, it was just okay.
Sure. You look at Golesh, and literally last season, he was the number 2 offense. And you're taking that core of those offensive coaches and you're just transplanting them over here, coming off a season where they were the number 2 overall offense, number 4 scoring, or vice versa, whichever one it was. So as far as scheme goes, it does feel like I like the idea of more space and tempo. And Auburn's offense this past year, when Derek Nix took over, more space and more tempo yielded better results. So if you can retain, if you can give me Cam and Eric Singleton, I don't care what happens. I don't care. I tell you what, I like the idea of Bryce Kane in this new offense too. I'm with you. I think if you keep Cam, maybe if it's just Cam, if you keep Cam, I think that I don't really care what happens because I think they'll be able to get the pieces around him to be able to be successful. Just carry that success over.
Yeah. I won't push back on that. Yeah, so I feel better about the wide receiver position. So,
yeah. I'm with you.
I also trust how he's going to use the tight end position.
I'm fascinated to see how we fill this roster out because hey, you're seeing a bunch of people leaving. You know who we're not seeing leave? I haven't heard anything about Preston Howard.
Right.
And I know that's a sore subject with some fans, but I'm fascinated to see what they end up doing at that.
Dude, I'm just telling you, I think there's a chance that Golesh looked at Preston Howard's Auburn tape and was like, and then looked at his Maryland tape and was like, oh, that's what I'm looking for. And like we can say what we want about Howard, but internally, they believe that Howard was an effective blocker, which is why they kept him on the field. And so when you think about the versatility, and look, I'm not trying to talk up Preston Howard. Like I'm pretty confident Preston Howard knew that he should have caught those passes
sure.
last year. And I promise you, no one hates it more than Preston Howard.
I don't know.
But to see, like, if I'm Preston, I see this as a better opportunity for a fresh start than going somewhere else.
Yeah.
Is the average Auburn fan going to like that? Probably not. But I'm just telling you how they might be looking at it.
Yeah. And think about this too. You have Preston Howard and you have Ryan G. Is it G or G? G?
G. Like
G. Ryan G. And that's it. Right? Like you're bringing in your freshman guy from Mobile, DJ Broughton, I think. And I think that's all you got. So I'm curious to see, do you go find a supplement guy, a blocking guy?
Two.
You think you need two? Yeah. Or do you go find
an older one and a younger one?
Yeah. I'm down with that. There's some pretty good ones. That have already.
There's going to be good at every position in this sport. It's going to be absurd. What's going to happen in a few weeks?
I can't wait.
And there's going to be two waves of it. There's all this stuff happening now, and then schools are going to add guys, and then it's going to cause guys on the roster like, oh, you brought him in. Well, I'm out of here.
And it's going to be quick too. So it's going to be
so fast. I'm just going to be sitting by my computer all day.
Like, I noticed too, I saw Pete Nako say that one of the reasons you're seeing a lot of guys enter at this point in time and not wait until January 2nd is because deals ran out. Like deals are starting to run out. Apparently this is a good contract in time that they start renegotiating. I'm assuming to start off the new year is the way it goes. So, yeah, maybe as more of those deals expire, you'll see even more, big players go in every single day. Yesterday was a big one.
It was crazy day.
Yeah.
Biggest concern moving forward. I think there's a few positions and a few guys you could certainly look at and say, he's important, or that position's important, and there's not a whole lot of guys in there. That's next right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show brought to you by our friends at Game Time. Can you imagine buying a ticket, Kyle, anywhere other than with our friends using the Game Time app?
No, I love their app, by the way. It's fantastic.
Love Game Time. You could download the Game Time app today. You can use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. You can track price drops in real time. You can get alerts when great seats open up for a specific event and buy tickets the moment they hit the app. It puts the power in your hands and makes going to any event, even the World Cup that's coming up, realistic instead of impossible.
I'm looking at the app right now. App right now, and there's a $70 ticket for Queens. You might want to jump on that. Just saying.
Yep. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets, every match, concert, or event with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. That's Game Time. Thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. My biggest concern right now, Kyle, trenches on both sides of the football, offensive line and defensive line. And those are two very expensive positions that Auburn is going to have to get not one, not two, not three, maybe not four of each side of the ball. They're going to have to load up at those spots on O-line and D-line. And I think that's going to be a big, big deal.
I think I'm more concerned on offensive line than I am defensive line, just because you've recruited so well there, and like all those young guys, you're talking your Malik Autry's, your Jordan Crawfords, your Malik Blocktons, like all those are big time. They're great players. Like they're gonna be big time players. So
keeping Von Trell is a big part of
100%
keeping them.
100%. On the offensive line side, like you just haven't recruited nearly as well as you have the other side of the ball. And it's a bunch of developmental players. It's a bunch of developmental pieces, and they haven't gotten a lot of playing time. And, you know, Connor Lew is draft eligible. He'd be by far your best guy, I think, that would come back. And like, I don't even think it's necessarily a guarantee that he comes back. So
I'm assuming he does not come back at this moment.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's probably a fair guess. I don't think it's out on a limb at all. So you're going to have to bring in maybe a position at maybe a guy at every position along the offensive line. You may need to bring in a couple of guards, a center, at least one tackle, maybe two tackles. And then maybe change your focus in high school to, start on the offensive line and recruit it the exact same way you recruit the defensive line. You looked in the playoffs, man. Even Indiana had like 3 dudes that are homegrown. Like they've been at Indiana, or Signetti recruited them out of high school. And they
Brian's told the stat before of like the Final Four last year. Of the 20 starting offensive linemen, I think like 18 were from high school. They recruited from high school.
That's one spot, man. It's just so hard to hit. I feel like
do you think that's offensive linemen just not entering the portal? Because like, do you think that's like is that a personality trait that offensive linemen are typically just like fine with whatever? Or do you think it's just schools knowing if they've got a guy, you've got to pay him to stay?
I think that's a really good question. I think it's because it's still, you can play early at almost every other position, and you can transition a lot easier than you can in offensive line. It's just maybe they go in with the understanding, that I may be at least 1 or 2 years away. It's easier to project that than it is, wide receiver or an undersized lineman has a whole lot harder time playing quickly than an undersized wide receiver. Like an undersized wide receiver can go run, routes and still, just look at Ryan Williams and still go have success. So versus a guy that's maybe 6'6", 265 and super athletic, but he needs to bulk up to, 295, 290 to be able to play. That doesn't just happen, in a couple of months. Like it takes time.
Yeah.
So maybe they just know that they know that coming in.
Right. Yeah, like quarterback, like, okay, whatever. Wide receiver, I just feel like it's going to work out. And maybe I'm making an assumption that we make, that we get Cam Coleman back on the roster, or keep Cam on the roster. Like if Atkins were to leave, like you might get more concerned about linebacker, but I also just kind of trust DJ Durkin. And if you keep Elijah Melendez may do what Atkins did this year. I don't know.
I don't see us losing any linebacker. I'm not sure.
That'd be huge. That'd be great. And I think I agree. Probably the biggest concern at linebacker would be Demarcus, Riddick, and Robert Woodyard.
Demarcus has already changed his profile picture back to DJ Durkin, so I think he's in. I wouldn't be surprised. Really? I wouldn't be surprised if he already signed a new deal or something like that.
Oh, that's great. I missed that. That's incredible.
Yeah.
Then we'll see with Woodyard. I talked to some folks that were talked about like how, Woodyard may be feeling Melendez kind of creeping up behind him, which
I feel him creeping up behind me, and he's not even anywhere near me.
Yeah,
He's
that's
terrifying.
Right. That's right. So we'll see what happens with that room. And then corner, I mean, I'm going to have a crash out if Jay Crawford leaves. So there you go.
Yeah. Don't think he's not being pursued like crazy. Like don't even think for 1 second, just crazy money's not being
My
thrown
mentions are going to explode if something happens to that sweet prince.
I'm going to park outside your home.
Yeah, come over, please, if that happens. Just to sit with
emotional
me.
support.
Yeah,
I'll be there for emotional support.
That'd be great. Kyle, how can people check out everything you've got going on?
Absolutely. Go over to the Bar in Auburn on YouTube. You just get all our free content, and then we have our membership content as well that you can see. And then anywhere you get a podcast, the Barn Podcast Network.
Please like the video. Please subscribe, and we will see you next time. This has been Locked on Auburn.